We live in a digital world. From the moment we wake up to the second we finally put down our phones, we're bombarded with information. News, social media, memes, videos. It's a never-ending fire hose of content. This constant access can be amazing. Think instant communication and cat videos on demand. But it also presents a unique challenge. How do we separate the truth from everything else? Media literacy is no longer a bonus skill, it's a necessity. It's your essential toolkit for the digital age, providing you with the skills to critically analyze information, identify bias, and determine the credibility of sources. So buckle up, because things are about to get interesting. The digital world isn't just about cat videos and viral dance crazes. It's also a battleground for influence, where foreign actors work to shape our perceptions, sow discord, and undermine our institutions. These actors exploit the platforms we use every day, social media, news websites, even online forums, to spread disinformation and propaganda. Their goal? To sow confusion, erode trust, and ultimately influence our behavior. They use bots, deepfakes, and other technologies to amplify their message and make it harder than ever to separate fact from fiction. This is the invisible war happening all around us, fought with bytes and algorithms. And it's a war we can't afford to lose. How do we fight back against this tide of disinformation and manipulation? By empowering ourselves with critical thinking skills. Media literacy is crucial for leaders, individuals whose words and actions carry weight. Whether you're leading a team, a community organization, or a family, your ability to navigate the digital world responsibly is paramount. By mastering media literacy, you're not just protecting yourself, you're becoming a beacon of truth and clarity for those around you. You're setting an example, demonstrating the importance of critical thinking and responsible digital citizenship. In a world grappling with the overwhelming tide of information, that's a superpower we desperately need. So let's dive in and become critical consumers of information. We've all encountered it, a shocking headline about a celebrity scandal or a political gaffe, but what if that information isn't even true? Welcome to the world of misinformation, where inaccuracies and falsehoods spread like wildfire. Misinformation thrives on speed and emotion, often grabbing attention with sensational headlines. Even if misinformation is spread unintentionally, it can still have real-world consequences, damaging reputations and fueling conspiracy theories. Remember, just because something true doesn't mean it actually is. Imagine that shocking headline wasn't just a case of bad reporting or an honest mistake. Imagine it was deliberately fabricated to manipulate your opinion, sow discord, or advance a particular agenda. Disinformation is a weaponized form of information, carefully crafted to deceive and mislead. Unlike misinformation, which can be accidental, disinformation is always intentional, often orchestrated by state actors or political groups. In the age of social media, it's become a potent tool for those who seek to manipulate and control. What if the information you're seeing is actually true, or at least partially true, but presented in a way that's designed to harm or manipulate? That's malinformation. Malinformation involves taking real events, facts, or personal information and twisting them to fit a particular narrative. The goal isn't to spread outright lies, but to harm, discredit, or silence opponents. Malinformation can be particularly effective because it often contains a kernel of truth, making it seem more credible. It plays on our emotions, exploiting our empathy, outrage, or fear to manipulate our perceptions and influence our actions. Now that we've explored misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, it's time to equip ourselves with the tools to identify and combat these threats. In a world where information is weaponized, media literacy is our armor. It's about developing a critical eye, a healthy dose of skepticism, and the ability to question everything. How do we spot the signs of information warfare? How do we differentiate between genuine information and manipulation? Stay tuned, because in the next act we'll delve deeper into the art of critical engagement. Let's talk sources. In the wild west of the internet, not all sources are created equal. Check the website or social media account. Is it reputable or shady? Look at the author. Do they have expertise in the subject? Are they affiliated with a reputable organization? Check multiple sources. If the same information is reported by several credible outlets, it's more likely to be accurate. But if it's only appearing on fringe websites or social media accounts known for spreading misinformation, that's a major red flag. A little common sense goes a long way. Everyone has biases. It's human nature. We all see the world through our own unique lenses shaped by our experiences, beliefs, and values. The problem is, when we're not aware of our own biases or the biases of the sources we're consuming, it's easy to fall into echo chambers. This can lead to polarization and an inability to engage in constructive dialogue with those who hold different views. Start by asking critical questions. What's the source's perspective? What are their motivations? Are they presenting a balanced view? Bias isn't always intentional or malicious. Sometimes it's simply a matter of perspective. By being aware of bias, both our own and that of others, we can become more critical consumers of information. Put on your detective hats because we're about to get our hands dirty with some media autopsies. First, let's talk about the headline. Is it sensationalized? Does it use emotionally charged language? Next, look at the images and videos. Are they authentic? Have they been manipulated or taken out of context? And don't forget the comments section. While it can be a cesspool of negativity and misinformation, it can also provide valuable insights. Pay attention to the tone of the comments, the arguments being made, and the sources being cited. You might be surprised by what you find. Dissecting information piece by piece helps separate the facts from the fiction. Congratulations, you've made it to the final level of media literacy mastery critical thinking. This is where it all comes together, where you take all the tools and techniques we've discussed and apply them to the real world. Critical thinking is about questioning everything, challenging assumptions, and not taking anything at face value. It's about being skeptical without being cynical, being open-minded without being gullible. Use your brain wisely against misinformation, disinformation, and all forms of manipulation. Picture this. A juicy rumor starts at a party. Someone whispers something, then someone else repeats it, adding their own spin. By the end of the night, the story has changed completely. That's misinformation in action, a game of digital telephone with potentially disastrous consequences. Now, imagine that party happening on a global scale, with millions of people sharing information at lightning speed. A single tweet, post, or video can go viral in minutes, spreading like wildfire across the digital landscape. Misinformation spreads faster than truth because it's often more sensational and emotionally charged. Imagine living in a world where everyone agrees with you, where every news article and social media post reinforces your existing worldview. Welcome to the echo chamber, where your own biases are reflected back at you, creating a distorted perception of reality. Echo chambers are formed when we surround ourselves with like-minded individuals both online and offline. Social media platforms with their sophisticated algorithms can exacerbate this effect, creating filter bubbles. These algorithms track our every click, like, and share, building a profile of our interests and preferences. While this can be helpful for things like targeted advertising, it can also trap us in echo chambers. We're only exposed to information that reinforces our existing beliefs, regardless of its accuracy. Here's a fun fact. Our brains are wired to respond to emotion more strongly than reason. It's a survival mechanism, honed over millennia of evolution. When we encounter a threat, like a saber-toothed tiger or a particularly nasty social media comment, our amygdala, the brain's fear center, kicks into gear, triggering a cascade of physiological responses designed to keep us safe. Now here's the problem. Misinformation exploits this emotional vulnerability. It plays on our fears, our anxieties, and our outrage, triggering those same primal responses and bypassing our rational thought processes. A sensational headline, a heart-wrenching image, a carefully crafted narrative, They all tap into our emotions, making us more likely to believe and share information without stopping to question its validity. And once we've bought into a particular narrative, our brains are remarkably adept at finding evidence to support it, even if that evidence is flimsy or non-existent. This is known as confirmation bias, and it's one of the main reasons why misinformation can be so difficult to combat. In the digital age, information is power. It shapes our perceptions, influences our decisions, and can even incite real-world action. And while the internet has democratized access to information in unprecedented ways, it's also created a breeding ground for misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation with potentially devastating consequences. We've seen how these insidious forms of information manipulation can erode trust in institutions, fuel political polarization, and even incite violence. From the spread of dangerous conspiracy theories to the manipulation of elections, the real-world consequences of digital deception are all too real. Misinformation can lead to real-world harm, both for individuals and for society as a whole. It can damage reputations, incite hatred, and undermine public health efforts. It can erode trust in democracy, sow discord among communities, and make it more difficult to address pressing global challenges. In short, misinformation is a threat to our collective well-being. It's a virus that spreads through the digital ecosystem, infecting our minds and undermining our ability to function as a society. Let's be clear. The fight against misinformation isn't just about fake news, it's about understanding the deeper game, the psychological warfare waged against us. Foreign adversaries aren't just spreading lies, they're strategic, exploiting our vulnerabilities. They understand our values, our fears, and our divisions. They know a house divided cannot stand. So they target our fault lines, amplifying tensions and exploiting divides. They spread narratives to pit us against each other, eroding trust in our institutions and leaders. They weaponize our values, turning our strengths against us, our commitment to free speech, our diversity, our open society, against us. In a world saturated with information, it's about controlling the narrative. And they're masters at crafting narratives that resonate. Remember that feeling of paranoia, that nagging suspicion that things aren't what they seem? That's the desired effect of disinformation campaigns like Operation Infektion. In the 1980s, the KGB spread the lie that the US created AIDS as a biological weapon. They planted this story in a small Indian newspaper, then watched it spread globally. Even the most outrageous lie, if repeated enough, could take on a life of its own. They exploited Cold War tensions and distrust of authority to sow chaos. Operation Infektion is a reminder that disinformation isn't new. It's been around for decades, honed and refined over time. Remember that game of telephone we talked about earlier? Well, in the digital age, that game is played on a global scale, at lightning speed, and with potentially devastating consequences. Social media platforms, with their algorithms designed to amplify engagement and add revenue, have become the battlegrounds of the 21st century. Foreign adversaries understand this all too well. They exploit the very features that make social media so engaging, the speed, the reach, the anonymity, to spread disinformation and manipulate public opinion. They create fake accounts, hijack trending hashtags, and use bots to amplify their message and create the illusion of grassroots support. But it doesn't stop there. These disinformation campaigns often bleed into the mainstream media, as legitimate news outlets pick up on viral stories or feel pressured to cover both sides of a manufactured controversy. This creates a vicious cycle, where disinformation is legitimized by repetition and amplified by the very institutions meant to hold power accountable. So, what's a leader to do in this age of digital deception? How do you navigate this complex information landscape, protect your team from manipulation, and ensure that your own online behavior sets a positive example? First, lead by example. Become a discerning consumer of information. Question everything, verify sources, and be wary of emotionally charged content. Remember, critical thinking is your best defense against manipulation. Second, foster a culture of media literacy within your team. Encourage critical thinking, open dialogue, and respectful debate. Provide your team with the tools and resources they need to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly. Third, Be proactive in addressing misinformation. Don't be afraid to call it out, but do so calmly and respectfully. Provide accurate information, cite credible sources, and avoid engaging in emotional arguments. Finally, remember that you're not alone in this fight. There are countless organizations, journalists, and researchers dedicated to combating misinformation and promoting media literacy. Seek out these resources, share them with your team, and together, let's build a more informed, discerning, and resilient digital future. All right, truth seekers, it's time to gear up. We've explored the dark underbelly of the internet, from misinformation to disinformation campaigns. Knowledge is power. By understanding these threats, we're one step ahead. Arm yourselves with tools to fight back and reclaim your digital lives. This is your digital survival kit against fakery. From fact-checking to reverse image search, spot misinformation, and navigate with confidence. Ready to become a truth-seeking machine? Let's do this. The internet feels like a giant game of 2 truths and a lie, but it's more like 200 lies and maybe 1 truth. How do you tell what's real in a world where everyone's shouting their version of the truth? Enter the noble art of fact-checking. Trust me, it's way more exciting than it sounds. Think of it like being a detective, hunting down the truth. Websites like Snopes, PolitiFact, and FactCheck.org are your new best friends. Next time, resist the urge to share and do a quick fact check. Alright, now that you've mastered the basics of fact-checking, let's level up our truth-seeking game with some advanced weaponry. We're talking about reverse image search, a tool so powerful it should probably be classified by the Geneva Convention. Ever seen an image online and wondered about its origins? With a reverse image search, you can upload that image and find out where else it's appeared online, when it was first published, and even if it's been altered or taken out of context. Next, we have metadata, the hidden information embedded within digital files. Think of it like a digital fingerprint, providing clues about when and where a photo was taken. While accessing metadata might require a bit of tech savviness, it can be invaluable for verifying authenticity. Congratulations, you've officially graduated from the School of Media Literacy. You've learned to spot misinformation like a pro, mastered the art of fact-checking, and you're ready to fight for truth and a more informed internet. The fight against misinformation is a team effort. Spread the gospel of media literacy far and wide. Share fact-checking websites on social media. The more people fighting for truth, the harder it is for misinformation to take hold. So, there you have it. We've journeyed deep into the trenches of the digital age, armed ourselves with the tools of media literacy, and emerged ready to tackle the ever-evolving landscape of information warfare. Remember that feeling of being overwhelmed, of not knowing what to trust in a world saturated with misinformation? You're not alone, but you are now equipped to be part of the solution, to be a leader in the fight for truth and clarity. Leadership in the 21st century isn't just about giving orders or making decisions, it's about fostering a culture of critical thinking, of encouraging healthy skepticism, and of empowering those around you to navigate the digital world with confidence and discernment. By embracing media literacy, you're not just protecting yourself from manipulation, you're becoming a force for good, a beacon of truth in a world that often feels shrouded in shadows. You're setting an example for your team, your colleagues, your family, and your community. And that, my friends, is a responsibility not to be taken lightly. Now, go forth and spread the gospel of media literacy. Share your newfound knowledge with everyone you know. Talk to your kids about online safety, help your parents spot a phishing scam, and challenge your friends when they share something that just doesn't seem quite right. Remember those fact-checking websites we talked about? Bookmark them, share them, tattoo them on your arm. Okay, maybe not the last one, but you get the idea. Make them part of your daily routine, your go-to resources for navigating the digital minefield. And don't be afraid to have those uncomfortable conversations. Challenge misinformation when you see it, but do it respectfully and with empathy. Remember, people aren't always intentionally trying to spread falsehoods. Sometimes they're just caught up in the moment, swept away by the emotional currents of the internet. Be the voice of reason, the champion of critical thinking. Because the more people we have fighting for truth, the harder it will be for misinformation to take root and spread its toxic seeds. As we conclude our journey into the heart of media literacy, let's take a moment to reflect on how far we've come. We've explored the treacherous terrain of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. We've deconstructed the tactics used by those who seek to manipulate us, and we've armed ourselves with the tools to fight back. But most importantly, we've embraced the power of critical thinking, of questioning everything, and of never taking anything at face value. We've learned that in the digital age, knowledge is power, and the ability to discern truth from falsehood is our most valuable weapon. So go forth with confidence, dear truth seekers. Embrace the chaos, but don't let it consume you. Engage with the digital world, but do so critically and with a discerning eye. And never ever stop questioning, challenging, and fighting for a more informed, more truthful, and ultimately more just world. Because the future of our digital lives, and perhaps even our democracy, depends on it.